Imagine starting your day with a powerful connection to the divine. Picture a morning where every word you speak reaches the heavens, and every prayer you utter is a step closer to peace. Have you ever felt the need for a sanctuary in your own heart, a place where worries dissolve and hope blossoms? What if I told you that today, right now, you can unlock that inner refuge? In the quiet of dawn, when the world is still waking up, there's a secret waiting to be discovered in Psalm 5. Ever wondered how a simple prayer can transform not just your day, but your entire outlook on life? What if this ancient text holds the key to a deeper, more fulfilling spiritual journey? Let's dive into this divine refuge together and uncover the power of a devout heart. Are you ready to take that first step? David, the revered king of Israel, is traditionally credited with penning Psalm 5. This psalm is believed to have been written during a period of personal turmoil, possibly when David was facing intense opposition and betrayal. It's fascinating to consider the historical context of David's life. He was a shepherd boy who became a king, a warrior who fought many battles, and a man who experienced both profound highs and devastating lows. Understanding David's position when he wrote this psalm helps us grasp the depth of his plea for divine intervention. During David's time, the political and social landscape was turbulent. His reign was marked by continuous conflicts, both internal and external. The personal context could be linked to multiple events, such as Absalom's rebellion or Saul's pursuit of him before he became king. Knowing that David was often surrounded by enemies and faced constant threats to his life and leadership adds a layer of urgency and sincerity to his petitions in Psalm 5. It's not just a general cry for help, it's a desperate plea from someone who knew what it meant to be in peril. Moreover, considering David's role as a king, his psalms often reflect a unique blend of personal anguish and national concerns. He wasn't just praying for his own safety and guidance but also for the well-being of his people and kingdom. This dual aspect of David's prayers can be seen throughout the Psalms, where personal lament and national supplication are intertwined. In Psalm 5, we see a leader turning to God with the weight of his responsibilities and the vulnerability of his human frailty. Before we dive into today's content, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you enjoy our videos and want to see more exciting content, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel. It's the best way to support us and stay updated on all the new meditations and videos we share. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Thank you for being part of our community, and now, enjoy the video. Psalm 5 is beautifully structured, moving through distinct sections that each contribute to its overall message. It begins with an earnest plea for God to hear and respond to his prayers. This introductory section sets the tone for the entire psalm, highlighting David's dependence on divine guidance and intervention. The repetitive nature of his requests, "Give ear to my words, O Lord, consider my groaning," emphasizes his desperation and the urgency of his need. The middle section of the psalm pivots to a reflection on the nature of God and the stark contrast between the righteous and the wicked. This part is critical as it lays the foundation for understanding why David feels justified in seeking God's help. He acknowledges God's holiness and justice, recognizing that evil cannot dwell with him. This acknowledgement not only reinforces David's plea for protection but also serves as a reminder of the moral order that governs the universe. It's a powerful contemplation of divine justice that reassures David of God's ability to distinguish between the righteous and the wicked. The concluding section is a declaration of trust and confidence in God's protection. Here, David transitions from pleading to professing his faith in God's unfailing love and justice. He expresses a hopeful anticipation of God's intervention, ending on a note of assurance and praise. This structure, from plea to reflection to confident declaration, mirrors the journey of faith many believers experience in their own prayers. It moves from a place of desperation to one of trust, illustrating the transformative power of earnest prayer. David's supplications in Psalm 5 are heartfelt and urgent, reflecting his deep need for God's intervention. He begins by imploring God to listen to his words and consider his sighing. This isn't just a casual prayer, it's a profound expression of his inner turmoil and desperation. David's use of multiple verbs, give ear, consider, listen, underscores the intensity of his plea. He is not merely asking, he is begging God to pay attention to his suffering and respond. David's petitions are also specific. He asks for guidance, protection, and justice. His request for guidance, lead me, O Lord, in your righteousness because of my enemies, highlights his awareness of the dangers surrounding him and his reliance on God to navigate through them. He does not presume to know the way, instead, he seeks God's direction, acknowledging his dependence on divine wisdom and protection. This specific plea for guidance is a powerful reminder of the importance of seeking God's direction in our own lives, especially when facing challenges and uncertainties. Furthermore, David's plea for help is rooted in his understanding of God's character. He appeals to God's righteousness and justice, confident that God will not allow the wicked to prevail. This confidence is not based on his own merit but on his trust in God's nature. David's supplications are thus an expression of his faith in a just and righteous God who cares for his people and acts on their behalf. This aspect of his prayer encourages believers to approach God with confidence, trusting in his justice and mercy. Psalm 5 presents a stark contrast between the righteous and the wicked, highlighting the theme of divine justice versus human wickedness. David acknowledges that God takes no pleasure in wickedness and that evil cannot dwell with him. This recognition of God's holiness and justice forms the basis of David's confidence in seeking divine intervention. He trusts that God, in his righteousness, will protect the just and punish the wicked. David's depiction of the wicked is vivid and unsettling. He describes them as deceitful, bloodthirsty, and destructive. This portrayal serves to underscore the gravity of the threat he faces and the urgency of his plea for divine protection. The emphasis on the wicked's deceit and bloodthirstiness also highlights the moral corruption that stands in stark contrast to the righteousness of God. This distinction reinforces the idea that God's justice will ultimately prevail over human wickedness, offering hope and reassurance to the righteous. Moreover, the reflection on divine justice versus human wickedness in Psalm 5 is not just a theological statement but also a practical guide for living a devout life. It calls believers to align themselves with God's righteousness and to trust in his justice. David's confidence in God's ability to distinguish between the righteous and the wicked encourages believers to live in a manner that reflects God's holiness and to trust in his just and fair judgment. This theme resonates deeply in the context of a devotional prayer, reminding believers of the importance of righteousness and trust in God's justice. One of the standout aspects of Psalm 5 is David's emphasis on the importance of morning prayer. He declares, "In the morning, O Lord, you hear my voice, in the morning I lay my requests before you and wait expectantly." This habit of seeking God at the start of the day underscores the significance of beginning each day with a focus on God. Morning prayer sets the tone for the day, aligning one's heart and mind with God's will and presence. David's practice of morning prayer is a testament to his disciplined spiritual life and his dependence on God. By prioritizing prayer in the morning, he demonstrates a commitment to seeking God's guidance and strength for the day ahead. This practice is not just about routine, it's about establishing a foundation of trust and reliance on God from the very beginning of the day. It reflects a proactive approach to faith, where one actively seeks God's presence and intervention in daily life. The benefits of morning prayer, as illustrated by David, are manifold. It fosters a sense of peace and assurance, knowing that the day begins with God's guidance and protection. It also cultivates a habit of regular communion with God, strengthening one's relationship with Him. For believers, emulating David's practice of morning prayer can lead to a deeper sense of spiritual connection and a more intentional approach to living out their faith. It serves as a reminder that each day is a gift from God and an opportunity to seek His will and presence in all aspects of life. A central theme in Psalm 5 is David's trust in God's protection. He repeatedly expresses his confidence that God will shield him from his enemies and lead him in righteousness. This trust is not based on a naive optimism but on a deep-seated faith in God's character and promises. David's assurance in God's protection is a powerful testament to his unwavering faith and reliance on divine intervention. David's depiction of God as a refuge and shield is particularly striking. He envisions God as a protective barrier against the forces of evil, offering safety and security in the face of danger. This imagery of God as a refuge provides a profound sense of comfort and hope, especially for those facing their own battles and uncertainties. It reassures believers that no matter how formidable the challenges may be, they can find safety and strength in God's protective embrace. Moreover, David's trust in divine protection is closely linked to his sense of righteousness and justice. He believes that God, in his righteousness, will not abandon the just but will deliver them from harm. This belief is not just a personal conviction but a reflection of a broader theological understanding of God's nature. For believers, this theme of trust in divine protection serves as an encouragement to place their faith in God's unwavering care and to seek His guidance and protection in all circumstances. It is a reminder that God's presence and protection are constant, offering assurance and peace amidst life's trials. A key theme that permeates the entirety of Psalm 5 is the importance of praise and worship. Even in the midst of his trials, David finds it essential to offer his adoration to God. This is evident in the latter part of the psalm, where he shifts from his petitions to expressions of trust and praise. David says, "But let all who take refuge in you be glad, let them ever sing for joy. Spread your protection over them, that those who love your name may rejoice in you." Here, David is not just making a request, he is celebrating the assurance of God's protection and inviting others to join him in praise. The act of praise and worship serves multiple purposes in a believer's life. Firstly, it shifts focus from the problems at hand to the greatness of God. In praising God, David is reminded of God's past faithfulness and his ability to handle any situation. This shift in perspective can be incredibly empowering, turning worry into worship and fear into faith. Moreover, praise and worship are acts of obedience and reverence. David's life shows us that worship is not contingent on circumstances but is a constant, deliberate act of acknowledging God's sovereignty and goodness. Even when he was fleeing from Saul or dealing with Absalom's rebellion, David continued to worship God, demonstrating that true worship is anchored in who God is, not in what one is going through. In the devotional life of a believer, this aspect of Psalm 5 underscores the importance of maintaining a heart of worship. It's a call to continue praising God not just in good times but also in moments of despair. Worship becomes a powerful weapon against discouragement and a means to invite God's presence into our struggles. For David, and for many believers, worship is both a refuge and a declaration of trust in God's unfailing love and power. This theme resonates deeply, encouraging believers to cultivate a lifestyle of worship that transcends circumstances. Another significant aspect of Psalm 5 is the blend of personal and communal elements in David's prayer. While the psalm is a personal plea for help, it also reflects the broader concerns of the community. David's role as a king meant that his prayers were often intertwined with the welfare of his people. When he prays for guidance and protection, it's not just for his personal safety but also for the security and prosperity of his kingdom. This dual focus is crucial for understanding the holistic nature of prayer. It reminds believers that while personal prayers are essential, they should also encompass communal and intercessory aspects. David's prayers often included petitions for his nation, reflecting his responsibility as a leader and his concern for his people's well-being. This approach encourages believers to expand their prayer focus beyond personal needs to include the needs of others, fostering a sense of community in shared faith. Moreover, the communal aspect of prayer in Psalm 5 highlights the power of collective supplication and worship. When David invites others to rejoice and take refuge in God, he is fostering a sense of unity and collective trust in God's protection. This communal dimension of prayer is vital in a faith community, as it strengthens bonds and builds a shared sense of hope and reliance on God. For believers, incorporating both personal and communal elements in prayer can lead to a more balanced and comprehensive prayer life. It encourages a broader perspective, reminding individuals that they are part of a larger faith community and that their prayers can have a collective impact. This unity in prayer can be a source of strength and encouragement, reinforcing the idea that believers are not alone in their struggles but are supported by a community of faith. Psalm 5 also delves into the role of faith in the midst of suffering. David's prayers are not devoid of pain or fear, they are filled with raw emotion and honest pleas for help. Yet, amidst his suffering, David's faith remains steadfast. He continues to seek God, to trust in his justice, and to praise him, despite the adversities he faces. This dynamic between faith and suffering is a powerful theme in Psalm 5. It illustrates that faith is not the absence of struggles but the presence of trust in God amidst those struggles. David's unwavering faith in God's character and promises provides a model for believers facing their own trials. It shows that faith can coexist with pain and that one can still hold on to hope and trust in God even when life is challenging. David's example encourages believers to bring their honest emotions to God in prayer. It's okay to express fear, doubt, and pain. What matters is maintaining a posture of trust and reliance on God. This authenticity in prayer fosters a deeper relationship with God, as it allows for genuine communion and dependence on Him. Furthermore, David's faith in suffering highlights the transformative power of prayer. Through his honest supplications, David moves from a place of desperation to one of confidence and praise. This transformation underscores the importance of prayer as a means of processing emotions, finding strength, and reaffirming trust in God's sovereignty. For believers, this aspect of Psalm 5 serves as an encouragement to persist in prayer, trusting that God hears and will act according to His perfect will. A recurring theme in Psalm 5 is the desire for God's guidance and the pursuit of righteousness. David's plea, "Lead me, O Lord, in your righteousness because of my enemies, make your way straight before me," reflects a deep yearning for divine direction. This request underscores David's recognition of his own limitations and his reliance on God's wisdom to navigate through life's challenges. David's emphasis on righteousness is also significant. He understands that following God's righteous path is essential for receiving His guidance and protection. This pursuit of righteousness is not about self-righteousness but about aligning one's life with God's will and standards. For David, seeking God's guidance and living righteously are intertwined, one leads to the other. In the context of a devotional prayer, this theme encourages believers to seek God's direction in all aspects of life. It emphasizes the importance of aligning one's actions and decisions with God's righteous standards, trusting that His guidance will lead to safety and fulfillment. David's example reminds believers that true wisdom and direction come from God and that living a life of righteousness is integral to experiencing His guidance and protection. Moreover, this theme highlights the proactive nature of faith. Seeking God's guidance and pursuing righteousness require intentionality and commitment. It's about actively choosing to follow God's ways and to seek His wisdom in every decision. This proactive faith is crucial for navigating life's complexities and for growing in one's relationship with God. Throughout Psalm 5, David's reflections on God's character play a central role in shaping his prayers and petitions. He acknowledges God's holiness, justice, and unfailing love, and these attributes form the foundation of his trust and confidence in God. David's understanding of who God is fuels his faith and shapes his approach to prayer. This reflection on God's character is a powerful aspect of devotional prayer. It shifts the focus from the immediacy of one's problems to the eternal nature of God. By meditating on God's attributes, believers can find reassurance and strength, knowing that they serve a God who is holy, just, and loving. This understanding fosters a deeper trust in God's ability to handle any situation and to act according to His perfect will. Moreover, reflecting on God's character encourages a posture of humility and reverence in prayer. It reminds believers of God's greatness and their dependence on Him. This humility is essential for a healthy prayer life, as it acknowledges God's sovereignty and one's own limitations. David's prayers are marked by this humility, as he consistently recognizes his need for God's guidance and intervention. For believers, incorporating reflections on God's character into their prayers can lead to a more profound and meaningful prayer experience. It fosters a deeper connection with God and a greater sense of trust in His ability to act. This aspect of Psalm 5 highlights the importance of knowing who God is and allowing that knowledge to shape one's prayers and faith. As we come to the close of our devotional journey through Psalm 5, let's take a moment to reflect on the powerful messages we've uncovered. Remember how David starts his prayer, with a cry for help and a deep trust in God's justice. It's a reminder that no matter how chaotic the world around us seems, we can always turn to God as our refuge and strength. But here's something to ponder: how often do we truly surrender our worries and fears to God, like David did? Are we allowing His peace to permeate our hearts, or are we holding on to anxiety and doubt? Think about the part where David speaks of God's guidance, and how he asks for God's direction in the midst of his troubles. Have you ever thought about what it means to seek God's will in your daily decisions? What might change in your life if you started each day asking for His guidance? And let's not forget the powerful imagery of God as a shield and protector. In today's world, where it's easy to feel vulnerable and exposed, how comforting is it to know that we have a divine protector looking out for us? As you go about your day, carry these thoughts with you. Meditate on them. Let them sink into your soul. And next time you find yourself facing a challenge or feeling lost, remember the lessons from Psalm 5. What if you started each day with a prayer like David's? How might that transform your outlook, your actions, your life? Before we wrap up, take a moment to think about this. How will you incorporate the wisdom of Psalm 5 into your own prayer life? What steps will you take to deepen your trust in God's protection and guidance? Thank you for joining us today on Divine Refuge. Remember, each prayer is a step closer to God's heart. Keep seeking, keep trusting, and always find your refuge in Him. Until next time, stay blessed and stay devoted.